coming to you from Los Angeles, California. You are watching Rock Legends with your host, Ace Stryker. This edition of Rock Legends is brought to you by Watson Guitars.
STYX, an American rock band from Chicago that formed in 1972 and is best known for melding hard rock guitar balanced with acoustic guitar, synthesizers, mixed acoustic piano, upbeat tracks with power ballads, and incorporating elements of international music theater. The band established itself with a progressive rock sound in the 1970s and began to incorporate pop rock and soft rock elements in the 1980s. Now, beginning with STYX in 1972, the band usually released an album every year. STYX 2, 1973, had the sleeper hit "Lady," a power ballad which reached number 6 in the U.S., helping an album make the top 20. "Lady" was also a top 20 hit in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. "Equinox" in 1975 and "Crystal Ball" in 1976 reached the U.S. top 70 hit, with the first featuring Lorelei, a number 6 hit in Canada, while the second marked the addition of Tommy Shaw to join the band. STYX's commercial breakthrough in North America came with "The Grand Illusion" in 1977, which peaked at number 6 in both the US and Canada and became the first of 4 straight triple platinum albums in the US for STYX. It featured the single "Come Sail Away," a top 10 hit in both countries. The band follows up with "Pieces of 8" in 1978. That was another number 6 hit in the US, but not a number 1. In 1979, STYX's "Cornerstone" went to number 2 in both countries on the strength of the cross-border number 1 hit ballad "Babe." The album became their breakthrough album in Australia and New Zealand, reaching the top 20 with "Babe" peaking at number 3. "Babe" was a number 6 hit in the UK, their first and only top 40 hit there, leading Cornerstone to their first album to chart number 36 there. In 1981, STYX's "Paradise Theater" was number 1 album in the US and Canada, while also reaching the top 10 in Scandinavia and the UK, their biggest album there, and the top 30 in Australia and New Zealand. The Best of Times of the album reached number 1 in Canada, number 3 in the US Billboard, number 1 in the US CHR chart radio and records, and top 30 in some other countries. While "Too Much Time on My Hands" was also a top 10 hit in North America, "Kilroy" was here. 1983 was STYX's last major hit album, reaching the top 3 in North America and the top 10 in Scandinavia, although it was less successful elsewhere. Its lead single, "Mr. Roboto," became STYX's 3rd top charter in Canada, was a number 3 hit in the US, and was their biggest hit in Germany, number 8. After a 7-year break, STYX returned to and with "Edge of the Century" 1990, which reached number 63 in the US with its single "Show Me the Way," becoming a top 3 hit in North America and in early 1991 on the Billboard charts. Overall, STYX had 8 songs that hit the top 10 in the US Billboard Hot 100, as well as 16 top 40 singles. 7 of their 8 top 10 singles were written and sung by founding member of the lead singer Dennis DeYoung, who has not been part of the band since 1999. STYX has sold over 54 million records worldwide. So let's go back to the early years. In August 1961, at 12 years of age, twin brothers Chuck, bass guitar player, and John Panazzo, drums, first played music together with their 14-year-old neighbor Dennis DeYoung, who played accordion and sang while living in the Roseland, Chicago area. Eventually in seminary in a year, but returned to the group by 1964. Tom Nardini had been brought into replace Chuck on guitar, and Chuck decided to play bass guitar when he returned to the band. Now, John Panazzo was the drummer, while DeYoung had switched from accordion to keyboards. In 1965, the Tradewinds name was changed to WT4. There were 4. And another band, the Tradewinds, achieved fame nationally. By 1966, the Panazzo brothers had joined DeYoung at Chicago State College and kept the group together by performing at high schools and fraternity parties while studying to be teachers. teachers. In 1969, they added a college friend, folk guitarist John Sierkowski, after Nardini departed. Hard rocker guitarist James J.Y. Young came aboard the band in 1970, making TW4 into a quintet. In 1972, band members decided to choose a new name when they signed Wooden Nickel Records after being spotted by a talent agent scout at a concert at St. John of the Crossroads Parish in Western Springs, Illinois. Now, James J.Y. Young's hometown, several suggested we were made, and according to D. Jung, yes, the name STYX was chosen because it was the only one that none of us hated. The band released 4 albums: STYX 1972, STYX 2 in 1973, and The Serpent is Rising in 1973, and The Man of Miracles in 1974. These albums contain straight-ahead rockers, mixed prog rock, flourish with a lot of guitars, drums, keyboards, percussions, and vocal solos. They established the fan base in Chicago area, but were unable to break into the mainstream, though the song Best Thing from STYX charted on September 16th in 1972 and stayed on Billboard Hot number 1 charts for 6 weeks, peaking at number 82. Then the power ballad Lady from STYX began to earn some radio time, first on WLS in Chicago in 1974, and then nationwide in the spring of 1975, nearly 2 years after the album had been released. Now, WLS in Chicago in 1974 and then nationwide in 1975, nearly 2 years after the album had just been released, Lady hit number 6 in the U.S., and STYX 2 went gold soon after. Lady is considered by many classic rock critics as being the biggest first power ballad, with Dennis DeYoung being referred to as the father of power ballads. With the success of Lady and the follow-up single on STYX 2, You Need Love, was released by only barely cracked the hot number 1. For STYX to achieve mainstream success, they would need to sign with an additional new record company. Now, in the years 1975-1978, on the heels of the belated single, STYX signed with A&M Records and released Equinox in 1975, which sold well, yielded a minor hit, Lorelei, which reached number 27 in the U.S. More importantly, it contained the rock anthem Sweet Madam Blue, which gained the band's considerable recognition and airplay on FM radio in the relatively new album-oriented rock format. Following the move to A&M, guitarist John Sierkowski suddenly left the band as they were to embark on a nationwide tour in December 1975. Due to his desire to spend time with his family, after a frantic last-minute search, the band brought in guitarist Tommy Shaw. Crystal Ball 1976, the first album to feature Tommy Shaw, was moderately successful, but it was overall a disappointment, failing to achieve the sales of its predecessor. Now, STYX's 7th album, The Grand Illusion, was released on July 7th, 1977, and became their breakthrough album, reaching triple platinum certification. It was spawned as a top 10 hit and AOR radio staple in the D. Young written Come Sail Away, which reached number 8 in 1978. Now, Shaw's Fooling Yourself, The Angry Young Man, was a second radio hit and reached number 29. The same year, the title track was also received and major airplay. Through the late 1970s and the early 1980s, the band enjoyed the greatest success. Their 1978 album Pieces of Eight found the group moving in a more straight-ahead hard rock direction and spawned 3 of Shaw's sung hit singles: Renegade, number 16 in the U.S., and Blue Collar Man, Long Nights, number 21 in the U.S., plus a minor hit single of the day that stopped just short of top 40 at number 41. Now, the 1980s and super stardom. Their 1979 album Cornerstone yielded their first number 1 hit, the D. Young ballad Babe. By early 1980, Babe had become the band's biggest international hit and first million-selling single, reaching number 6 in the United Kingdom. The album also included number 26 D. Young hits Upbeat, Why Me, and the rocker Borrowed Time, which was co-written by Shaw, plus Shaw's folksy Boat on the River in 1980, which was a hit in Europe and Japan. The popularity of the album number 2 Billboard helped win the band a People's People's Choice Award for the Best New Song in 1980. Now, at the 22nd Grammys, STYX was nominee for the Best Rock Vocal Performance by Duo or Group, and Cornerstone's engineers Gary Liazzo and Rob Kingsland were nominated for the Grammy for Best Engineered Recording. Now, with the success of Babe, DeYoung's push for more mainstream direction gained momentum, while Shaw and Young favored a more rock-oriented approach. This arguing over musical direction led to an ongoing tension in the early 1980s after Shaw objected to the ballad First Time being released as the second single from Cornerstone. Although the song was generating substantial airplay in some major markets, A&M pulled the plug on the single's official release, replacing it with Why Me? The argument resulted in DeYoung being briefly fired from the band. However, things were quickly smoothed over. While the First Time did not chart in the US because it wasn't released actually, it became a huge hit in the Philippines in 1981. In January 1981, STYX released Paradise Theater, a concept album that became their biggest hit, reaching number 1 on the Billboard Pop Album charts and yielding 5 singles, including the top 10 hits Best of Times by DeYoung, number 3 Billboard number 1, Radio and Records, and Too Much Time on My Hands by Tommy Shaw. Number 9, his only top 10 single as a member of the band. Paradise Theater became the band's 4th consecutive multi-platinum album, based on the yet another Dennis DeYoung concept. The Paradise Theater was a historic Chicago theater that had been built in the 20s, only to fall on hard times and close a more than 30 years after it opened. Then a very ambitious year-long world tour commenced in 1981 in support of the album and was one of the top grossing tours of the year. The tour had numerous Broadway and movie-infused elements, including a dramatic opening featuring the theater sweep of DeYoung by himself next to a player piano, and the show ending with traditional movie credits. Throughout the tour and throughout the 1980s and beyond, the band would open their shows with Rockin' the Paradise, the opening track from the Paradise Theater, which charted at number 8 on the Top Rocks track chart, and whose music would be among the first to air on MTV cable channel. The band was accused by a California religious group and later the Parents Music Resource Center of backmasking satanic messages in their anti-cocaine anthem, Snowblind. James J.Y. Young has denied this charge during his introduction for Snowblind when he played live. Dennis DeYoung has denied the accusation as well, joking on the In the Studio with Redbeard program, "We had enough trouble to make the music sound right and forward." Also, Young quotes, "If we were going to put some message in our songs, we would have put it out so that it was a song forward, not so that you would have to buy some $400 tape recorder to hear it." The band continues to follow DeYoung's lead with their next project, Kilroy Was Here. In 1983, another more fully realized concept album embracing the rock opera form. It is set to in a future where performing and playing rock music has outlawed due to the efforts of charismatic evangelists. Now, Dr. Everett, played by James Y.J. Young, Kilroy Was Here featured DeYoung in the part of Kilroy, an unjustly imprisoned rock star. Tommy Shaw played the part of Jonathan Chance, a younger rocker who fights for Kilroy's freedom and the lifting of the ban on rock music. This future society served by robots called robotos. These automatons performed many jobs, and several served as Kilroy prisoner guards. Part of the impulse for the Kilroy story was the band's reaction to the backward masking accusation. The album included Young's song Heavy Metal Poisoning, which includes lyrics sarcastically mocking the allegations against the group. Its introduction intentionally included a backward masking message, the Latin phrases, "and it, Cupidas and Novus Ordo Seclorum, which reversed side the Great Seal of the United States, referring to the United States Declaration of Independence in 1976. That is and are translated in that manner. Now, God favors our undertakings, and Nervus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of ages. Both choices also served at the Kilroy story, because the villain in the story is an evangelist that seeks to expand his vision of morality movement in mass demonstrations. Kilroy was here, brought in creative and competitive tensions within the band beyond the breaking point. Shaw departed the band for a solo career at the conclusion of the tour. In 1984, the band released the first live album, Caught in the Act. The project featured one studio track, Music Time, which became a top 40 hit. Now, the concert was also filmed and released on VHS under the same title and on DVD in 2007. By the time the album's released, the band had already parted ways. Now moving up into 2010, the current incarnation of the band performed before the Sprint Cup Auto Club 500 in Fontana, California. In a North American touring beginning in May 2010, STYX was a co-headliner of the United in Rock with Foreigner and special guest Kansas. In July 2010, STYX announced the forthcoming release of Regeneration Volume Number 1, a new EP featuring 6 recorded hits and a new song entitled Difference in the World. This coincided with the Grand Illusion Pieces of 8 tour, and on which both albums were played in their entirety. In November of 2010, STYX announced that they would be filming their concert in Memphis on November 9th for a DVD. They also announced that they'd been touring in the UK with Journey and Foreigner for 5 dates in June 2011. The landmark concert was recorded at the historic European Theatre, where STYX performed both of their classic albums, 1977's The Grand Illusion and the 1978's Pieces of 8. In early April 2011, it was announced that STYX would join up with Yes for a progressive U.S. tour that began on July 4th, 2011. On December 15th, 2011, they participated in the figure skating show Improv Ice, which was broadcast on television. January 15th, 2012, on the January 26, 2013 Polidelia channel premiered the concert filmed in November of 2010. On November 22nd of 2013, they announced a benefit concert with REO Speedwagon titled Rock to the Rescue to raise money for the affected families of the tornado in central Illinois. In 2014, the band found back on the road again in the new touring package called Soundtrack of Summer with Foreigner and ex-Eagle Don Felder. On October 21st, 2014, DeYoung and his band released a rock concert on 2 CD and DVD, the Blu-ray package, which is called Dennis DeYoung and the Music of STYX Live in Los Angeles. That was released in the U.S. via Frontiers Records. The European release date was October 17, 2014. Also, on October 21st, 2014, a condensed via version of the live concert package was broadcast on AXS TV Headliner Club Concert Series. The concert took place at the El Rey Theater in Los Angeles, California on March 18, 2014. STYX 2015 summer tour saw them reuniting with Def Leppard along with Tesla. The groups played the outdoor venues across the United States. In 2016, STYX announced a series of performances to be held at the Venetian in Las Vegas in early 2017 with Felder. In February 2017, it was announced that the STYX and REO Speedwagon would join forces in a tour entitled United We Rock with special guest Felder, which was in large concert venues throughout the U.S. On April 21st, 2017, STYX announced a studio album entitled The Mission. Simultaneously, releasing the single Gone, Gone, Gone. The album was released on June 16th, 2017 2017 and is a concept album with a mission to Mars. On June 25th, 2019, the New York Times Magazine listed STYX among hundreds of artists whose material was reportedly destroyed in the 2008 Universal fire. Spring of 2020, Dennis DeYoung releases his first studio album in over 10 years, 26th East Volume 1. The album featured a duet with Julian Lennon, To the Good Old Days and With All Due Respect. If you'd like more information about STYX, you can go to their website, styxworld.com, for more music and touring news information.
Coming to you from Los Angeles, California. You are watching Rock Legends with your host, Ace Stryker. This edition of Rock Legends is brought to you by Watson Guitars.